For a while, the heavyweight picture was dark. After Larry Holmes' strong run, the championship was divided into parts among men who did not inspire adulation. Perhaps then it was time for a new force among heavyweights, someone who would move that division out of the darkness. It was time for Mike Tyson, a dedicated boxer who needs the sport as much as boxing seems to need him. A young man whose strong hands and sober approach to the game may well be fashioning a new era in the heavyweight division. Tonight, we will take a look at the still embryonic story of an athlete who combines unique preparation with performances that seem always to be really extraordinary. Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion in history. Hi everybody, I'm Al Bernstein, happy to be your host for a look at an extraordinary young champion. For the next hour, we'll be taking a look at Mike Tyson. Tyson, the name conjures up really one image, that of him brutally beating an opponent and usually knocking him out early in a fight. But there's more to Mike Tyson, a lot more, and that's what we'll look at in the next hour. He's also an extraordinary young man, and the first chapter in what many people believe will be a lot of chapters in his life story is one we'll look at tonight. So if you're a boxing fan, or even if you're not, stay with us for the next hour. I think it'll be very interesting. Now we'll bring you Mike Tyson, The Right Stuff.
I've never seen you.
You know, the game. He's in a class really right by himself because of his ability as a fighter. You know, the way that he fights and the way that he comes at you. He don't have anything on his mind but to take you out of there. He don't care if you're good, you're excellent, or you're bad. He's out to win.
Mike Tyson, The Right Stuff, is being brought to you by Budweiser, the genuine article, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company. We'll be back with the Tyson special right after this.
To Dempsey, Lewis, and Marciano. Can anyone overcome the youngest heavyweight champion of all time? The man who scored boxing's most stunning upset says he can. See for yourself. Iron Mike Tyson versus James Bonecrusher Smith, March 7th at the Las Vegas Hilton, where the historic battles are fought. Call now.
Billy Martin.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Mills Lane stops the bout at 2 minutes, 35 seconds of the second round. The winner by a TKO and youngest and new WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Tyson.
This pastoral setting in upstate New York is the place where youngsters who have not been so sedate are sent to straighten out. And the Tryon Reform Schools where one such youth, Mike Tyson, ended up. It was Bobby Stewart, one of the employees at the school and a former amateur boxer, who took a special interest in Mike. He didn't just teach Mike to box, he did a lot more.
When I first met Bobby, you know, he'd really more concerned with me going to school and getting my grades up in order for me to start boxing with him. So after I went through that stage, you know, I went and I completed my grades and I was doing successfully well. Matter of fact, great. And then after that, we started training. And as long as my grades and my levels stayed up, you know, he would remain interested.
I told him that I would work with him
okay, while I was there, and I worked with him on my spare time also, I would give up some of my time, in other words, if he was willing to give up some of the things he had done, negative things he had done. If he was doing well in school, I would work with him. If he wasn't doing well in school, forget it that day.
I approached him, I said I wanted to try boxing, and then we boxed, and he like beat me up real bad, like, you know. And then I said, well, I want to box, I want to be a fighter. And he said, sure, everybody that comes in here wants to be a fighter. And that's when we went to the agreement stage about doing well in school in order to box.
He wanted to learn to fight, to be something so bad that he was willing to give up things that he'd done for the other 13 years of his life, you know, negative things that he'd done. And he was very successful.
This is what Mike wanted to be more than anything. And Bobby would impart what he knew about boxing to a willing and receptive student.
One thing that really impressed me with him was when I did start to work with him, I'd show him this or that, and I'd say, you know, let's see if you can learn that by the next time we work out. And the night staff would say, sometimes they have to put him in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd be in his room, in a dark room, because the lights were been out since 11 o'clock, and he'd be practicing. They'd hear this snorting and so forth, and he'd go in a room, and there he was, still practicing what I told him. By the next time we went to work out, he knew that. And one night that he didn't even remember, or he didn't even know about at the time, because I didn't let on to him, but he smashed me. I never been hit any harder with just a straight jab than by him. And it was 2 or 3 times. My nose was shattered, but every time he hit me, I would grab and hold on. And I don't think he realized that he'd hurt me as bad as he did. Anyways, that day I come home and I said, that's it. I told my wife, I says, if I'm going to continue this with this kid, I've got to practice, you know, I've got to get back on the bag and keep the hands up and no more just playing with this kid.
Well, I enjoyed it, but, you know, it was just as hard for me. You know, some days I didn't want to box, but, you know, he said, you want to box today? And I wouldn't say no. So I wanted to learn, so I continued, yeah.
They did more than work on boxing skills. They created a friendship that still exists today.
I knew Mike Tyson could be a good person, okay? Fighting was just a tool to bring that out in him.
If it wasn't for Bobby, I wouldn't be here now.
Introducing the revolutionary Dahan Folder, the world's lightest, most compact bicycle, offering unmatched versatility and convenience. So unique, yet so practical. Look, 12 seconds is all it takes to turn this compact package into a full-size bike. Here's a high-performance 3-speed with all the features of a full-size bike and much, much more. Whether you store your Dahan Folder in a high-rise, an RV, your boat, or a plane, you'll always have instant transportation. Dahan eliminates the worry of theft and the problems of storage. Commuters, now you can fold it and take it. Actually fits under most seats. Leave rush hour traffic and parking problems.
Boxing had been used as a tool to make Mike Tyson a better person. Well, it actually unleashed an amazing talent. In fact, it was a talent so different that the people guiding him into his pro career understood that the plan had to be different. And it was laid out by one of boxing's originals, Cus D'Amato. And it was a plan much different than we're used to seeing in modern-day fighters.
The concept behind Mike fighting every 2 weeks was Cus D'Amato's. And while Bill and I were co-managers, Mr. D'Amato, in a brilliant fashion, choreographed the way Mike should fight, how he should fight, who he should fight, and most important, he felt, unlike modern fighters who fight once every 2 or 3 months, that Mike should be a throwback to the old-time fighters.
The longest fight Tyson has ever been in has been a 4-rounder. He got a knockout there. His other 3 fights were first-round knockouts. Dan Halpin, I guess, is the only man, and this one may not go much longer, as a crushing right hand sends Alderson down.
When you see big Mike Tyson come for you, you better head in the other direction in a hurry. Right hand glances off the chin, but it rocked Kennedy. The left hook does it the same.
Kennedy's hands are really very low, and Tyson, boy, you have to like how poised he is right here. He is picking his shots well. He is hurting.
This one could be over. It is. Joe Cortez stops it. Tyson again, another one of those fresh youngsters, only 19 years of age. Long is 27.
Oh, wow.
My.
Well, that was quick.
Tyson putting him down here early in the first. Frank Cappuccino looking on closely. You see Long holding those gloves up to say he's all right, but is he? Here comes Tyson. Left hand again.
Well, he nearly sent Long out of the ring with that left hook.
Tyson. Oh, Long is down. Second time. Another knockdown.
There is no 3 knockdown rule, but the referee can stop it after 3 if he decides so. This is very impressive. Mike Tyson not expected to come out this strong against Long.
5 of 8 have fallen in the first. Is it 6 of 9 as Tyson comes out with a strong right-hand barrage again?
This is as bad as I've ever seen Donnie Long look, but
And
give
he
Tyson
is down,
credit.
and
That's
maybe
it. Wow.
The left hand puts him down. He collapses, and this one is over as the doctors rush into the ring.
Those 3 fights occurred in the first 9 months of Mike Tyson's pro career. And even though he had 15 fights in that period, he only fought 22 actual rounds. So training became even more important for him. Tyson had to simulate what it was like to be in actual combat. And again, interesting training methods from his mentor.
Cus D'Amato felt that in order to perform at a level when you're fighting professionally in a real fight, the only way to be at your absolute best is to simulate that in practice. The same way 2 tennis players will go out at full steam out there on a tennis court. To have punches thrown at you with bad intentions and make it your job to get away from them and hit back, which is Cus's theory, and Kevin is trying to keep it instilled in Mike. The only way that can be accomplished to its epitome is to have it done in practice every day without any lesser degree. That makes you a better fighter.
And in the Tyson camp, the term sparring may be a misnomer because everyone is instructed to go all out.
I tell them to go hard. I want you to go out there and fight them. You fight them for 2, 3 rounds, 4, 5. Some of these guys that want to go more rounds, like a Broad, or Ferguson, or whatever, or Jamieson, I tell these guys to go out there and fight hard because Michael's fighting hard too.
The idea is to let them fight as hard as possible. This is a fight. You go in there and you fight as hard as possible. You know, my trainer told him, you go in and you fight. You fight. This is, you know, don't take it easy because he's 18 or he's 17 or he's 20. You go out there and you fight. You fight for your life. It's go out there and fight for your life. And that's just to get ready for fight. That's how come I'm always in shape, because when I fight in the gym, it's a fight. I fight.
Hands up.
And fight he does without a headgear, a somewhat radical precept passed down by Cus D'Amato.
The only time you wear headgear is if you have a problem, if there's something the matter, your ear hurts, or you got a big fight coming up and you had a cut eye, and but you got a spot. A headgear gives you a false sense of security, because I used to say, and it's true. You put a headgear on, you think you can take a shot, you end up taking more shots because you got a headgear on. You don't have a headgear on, you don't want to get hit. Nobody wants to get hit. With a headgear, a fighter feels safe. Well, I can take the shot because it's going to protect me, which in the end it doesn't do anyway. So that's the reason for that. I mean, that was Cus's belief, and I was around Cus a long time, and I believe it too, and it shows.
For all his brute force, Tyson is a student of his sport. He works hard on techniques to improve himself. And then he employs them in practice. And these defensive skills have played a big role in his quick rise in boxing, but one that sometimes gets overlooked.
Mike, who has had 38 amateur fights, 28 professional fights, 56 fights, has never had a cut eye, never had a bump on his face, never had a bloody nose. No one ever comments on that. When you towel Mike Tyson off after a fight, you can't tell what his profession is.
But his opponents know what he does for a living. Just ask Marvis Frazier.
Tyson comes out slugging. He comes out smoking like Marvis's father, Joe. Marvis must move or we're going to be out of here very, very quickly. Uppercut, and Marvis is hurt.
Frazier is down. Joe Cortez moves in to have a look, and he's going to stop the fight.
Tyson is inviting. And there was an uppercut. What a shot. Wow.
That kind of excitement from Mike Tyson is the legacy that Cus D'Amato, his late trainer and mentor, leaves behind. But it's not the only legacy. D'Amato showed boxing people a unique way of looking at their sport, and he gained the respect and admiration of the people he worked with, including the other man he took to the heavyweight championship.
There'll never be another like Cus. Cus was #1. He cared about the fighter, not the money, the fighter. There's a lot of guys out there that care about the fighter and the money, but a little more the money than the fighter. But Cus didn't care about money. I've seen him give thousands of dollars away. Right after a fight, sometimes I would fight, and back then I'd get maybe $15,000, and Cus, who got a third of that, a week later he had nothing.
Give me your number so I can call you. If you're available, you let me know.
I've met a lot of people, but there's only one Cus. There'll only be one Cus. I'm honored and happy that I did meet him, because he's much more than boxing. He's a person. I've never met a guy that puts principle ahead of money. You know, America, the world, America is run by money. It's run by business, is run by money. Money first, money first. The big businessmen, they make decisions based on money. How the money. Cus was principle. What was right and what was wrong, and money meant nothing to him. I've never met anybody like that, and I'm sure I'll never meet anyone else like it.
This is the house Cus and Mike Tyson shared in Catskill, where Mike learned not only how to box, but to become something of a boxing historian as well.
He watches and sees them. And many times I'm sure he recognizes weaknesses in the defense or attack of the others. And all these things register in his mind. And I think all of them contribute, and using his own judgment also as well, to do the kind of things that he feels will enhance and develop his potential too. Together with what I'm able to advise and suggest, I think that it has become what I believe is a winning combination.
Cus used to always talk to me about the situation. He was saying, you know, if you really took a deep interest in it, you would be champ of the world. And he would say, with no problem, you would be champ. Because he was saying, you're just too good for these guys. Even at 14, he was saying, you know, they know more, but you're just too good. I said, really? And I didn't believe him at first, but he just kept pounding that information in me. And by the time I was 14, I began to believe it.
The fighter's got to go in there ready to handle any kind of an opposition that presents itself and do it successfully.
Cus literally raised him in every sense. You might say that teaching him how to fight was almost an insignificant tributary to what Cus gave Mike. Mike Tyson learned all about life from Cus D'Amato. One of the things that Mike learned from Cus, in addition, was how to box.
Cus and I, we had it was a very close and intense relationship, you know what I mean? We always talked about basically things about being successful, handling success, because you always know we get there. He would always say, you know, there's always people telling you, you know, if you work hard and you stay in a straight line and you're honest, you'll be very successful, but there's never people to tell you how to handle it. There's never anyone around to say, well, this is going to happen. This is how you handle it. We all know if you work hard and be honest, you know, keep a straight line, don't get in trouble, no drugs, anything, you're going to be successful. Anyone, you're going to be successful. Because when you get there, you know, that's where it's going to be the most difficult part of your life. And we used to talk about that all the time. And sometimes when I used to get in attitudes, he used to say, oh, so what are you going to do when you become a big-time fighter, when you're champion? I was just a young kid. He said, when you're champion, what are you going to do? You're going to tell them, to hell with me now? You got to learn these things now, because a lot of things I didn't want to listen to.
Cus instilled so many incredible qualities into Mike, not only making him a great fighter, but a great human being, that he still lives on in Mike.
My goal is just become a champion, you know what I mean? His goal was making me independent, making me a man, when I didn't have to need him anymore. And he used to discuss that all the time.
To you, I dedicate my life, my friend. My friend. You taught me to see wrong from right. work and dedication can bring. My friend, you were the inspiration that I was hungry for. If you could only see me now, I'm knocking on the door, my friend. My friend.
Another good left hand by Tyson. And a right behind it, and Berbick is whopped. That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down.
Winner by a TKO, and youngest and new WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Tyson.
Now there is a memory burning up inside. Your guidance is a part of me. It will not be denied, my friend. My friend. To be the best one in my time ain't good enough for me. I won't be satisfied till my name's in history. My friend.
From a sharp right uppercut to the body by Tyson. Again, a double right hand to the body and the chin. Down goes Lorenzo Boyd. The count is 5. The count is 6. The count is 8. He will not get up. It's over.
Well, it seems that all of Mike Tyson's fights are that easy, but they're not. He had some important tests leading up to his heavyweight championship fight, and during this portion of the show, we thought we'd take a look at 3 of the most important of those fights. We'll see him against James Quick Tillis, the first time he had to go 10 rounds, and Tillis gave him something of a boxing lesson. We'll also see him against Alfonso Ratliff, the first time he had to be out in Las Vegas, a different environment, and a stepping stone to the fight with Berbick. And now a look at Jesse Ferguson, a bout in which he was on network television for his initial time, and maybe the first time he faced a really big puncher.
Ferguson, in his 10-round loss to Carl the Truth Williams, a TKO defeat, not a decision, was in trouble in both the first and 10th rounds, and now he's in trouble here. Blood coming out from the nose of Jesse Ferguson. The right uppercut of Tyson has put him down. 6, 7, 8. Up at 9 is Jesse Ferguson.
I think that uppercut broke Ferguson's nose, Jim. He is in desperate trouble. He will not last much longer. Rivera almost stopped it there. Mike Tyson's known as a great finisher. Let's see how he does with Ferguson.
Well, he would not put Jesse out in the 5th, but he did break his will. And in the 6th, Ferguson was disqualified, and Mike had passed a major hurdle. The next obstacle would be of a different type. Although he had veteran James Quick Tillis down here in the 4th, he would not keep him down. And for the first time, Tyson was forced to go 10. And in spots, Tillis made him look less than invincible.
And in Tyson's round, or in Tyson's corner between rounds, trainer Kevin Rooney was imploring him to keep punching, not to stop punching, particularly in the clinches.
Come on, work out of it, guys, come on. Which is exactly what Mike just did. He was in tight, his hands were free, and he did not punch.
In that fight, he learned that he could go 10 rounds and he'd have enough gas left. See, in that fight, remember, he won like the first 6 rounds easy. Then he started to die out. He was holding back, and he kept holding back from the 10th round. You know, I said, come on, get out there and, you know, let's fight. And he went out there and he opened up with everything he had. Then after the fight, he said, I had more left than I thought I did.
That was more or less my inexperience and confidence. I wasn't sure of going to 10 rounds. But, you know, after finishing the 10 rounds, I said, wow, it wasn't that bad. You know, I had a lot more left.
Closing with a flurry. The bell is going to sound.
He beat Tillis with a unanimous decision win. And next up, a trip to Las Vegas and the challenge of this man, Alfonso Ratliff.
And there was a left hand, and Ratliff will sit it out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Ray, it looked like a short left hook. It was a classic punch, and Ratliff I don't think he'll get out of this round.
And Tyson right on top of Alfonso Ratliff. Turn him loose. Another sign, of course, that you look for is, can the man finish? And Tyson has left little doubt about that so far. Right hand, that should be just about it. Davy Pearl looking very closely. And that's all. It's over.
That, incidentally, is a much more important fight for Tyson than you could imagine, because it qualifies him for a shot at Trevor Berbick for the heavyweight title.
Yes, the path to a title had to go through this man, Trevor Berbick. He held the crown that even at the age of 14, Mike and Customato thought he was ordained to wear. And we'll be back to see how he won it.
That he will become probably the youngest heavyweight champion of all time, which title is held by Floyd Patterson. I believe he will be the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. And if he remains dedicated, interested, and without any distractions, I believe that eventually he will go down in history as the greatest heavyweight champion we've ever had.
Well, that was in 1985, and Customato certainly was a prophet in his first prediction. 15 months later, Mike Tyson would go on to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. As to that second prediction, well, only the future will tell us that. We do know that Mike Tyson got his chance at the heavyweight title when the boxing world and home box office got together for a heavyweight unification series. And there was one man, at least, that knew Mike Tyson had to be in that series.
The negotiations for the unification series probably began back in November, December of '85. And at that time, Mike Tyson was an up-and-coming heavyweight, having won 8 or 9 fights, starting to make a little bit of a splash, but nothing that I could foresee as having any real impact at the beginning of our series. As time went on, in February, he fought on ABC in his first fight on network television, and at that time, I decided it was important, having this unification series in front of us, that we should take a look at this young prospect. So I went up there to Troy, New York, and when I walked in that building and Mike Tyson walked into the ring without robe, savagely beating Jesse Ferguson, and the reaction of the crowd, which really actually had a big impact on me sitting ringside, I had never at any time seen anything like that in the ring. And that goes back quite a few years, so I came back to these offices and I said, this guy will definitely make his way into our series. This is one of the best heavyweights I've ever seen. So I came back from Troy and I told our people here in these offices that we had better do something with this kid.
And so it was time for Mike Tyson to find out if he was really that special.
I can't fool myself. I'm going to really find out how good I am, you know what I mean? I'm going to match my skills against the champion's skill. And everybody say, you're this, you're that, you're this and that. Well, we're going to find out now. And I just went in there with that cold attitude.
Another good left hand by Tyson. And a right behind it, and Berbick is rocked. Berbick in trouble here. Berbick just trying to get through the round. He's hurt, no question.
When we were going to fight Berbick for the world heavyweight title, to tell you that we were supremely confident would be the understatement of the year, because Bill and I had decided to fight Berbick before he was the heavyweight champion. He was one of the guys we were going to knock off on the way to the title. The fact that we could fight him for the world heavyweight championship was a luxury.
Tyson is everything that
people could have hoped for in that round.
Trevor Berbick, we should point out, has been down twice. There's another big shot by Tyson. Berbick in a heap of trouble. Down he goes.
The punches are coming in such a succession that Berbick can't deal with them. They're short, powerful, devastating punches.
Berbick is still hurt. Trevor Berbick still seems to be not on solid legs at all here, Ray.
Well, again, you notice that my man is being patient. Tyson's being very, very patient, which was a big concern from a lot of other boxing people. He's being patient against a guy that has a great deal of experience. He's not wasting any punches.
Trying to tie Mike Tyson up here, just kind of hang on and get the cobwebs out. Oh, another big right hand, and Berbick is in trouble again.
Tyson is perpetual motion, and the reason he's so dangerous, Barry, because he continues to throw those punches. One thing I've noticed in Tyson, he actually turns southpaw because he can knock you out with either hand. He has good leverage because he keeps his balance.
He missed with that uppercut, but didn't miss by much. That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down. This one is going to be over, I believe. It's over. That's all, and we have a new era in boxing.
It was a great moment just to have the belt, because I always dreamed about having a belt. Like, I always go over to Jose Torres' house, and I always take his belt off the wall, and I put it around my waist and everything. And I said, oh, man, one day I'm going to get me a belt. And he said, don't worry about it, man. You can have a whole bunch of them, man. Don't worry about it. He said, I wish I was fighting around your day, man. You're going to get the belts, no problem. But someone else saying that, and you having to go through it, even though he went through it and he knows what it takes to get the belt, you going through it is a whole different story when somebody's saying, oh, you're going to be champ, putting the pressure on you, like, oh, Christ, why you got to put this pressure on me, all right?
And he looked in the mirror with the belt, and he saw Jack Johnson on one side, and Joe Gans on the other, and Joe Walcott, and Joe Louis, and perhaps being a little flattering to himself, he heard them say, congratulations, Mike. That's what made him feel very special.
In business, the only thing that counts is the customer. The customer, the man who pays. You must satisfy him. And how do you satisfy him? By giving him an exciting fight.
Customato is right. You have to be entertaining in the ring. But to be a popular champion these days, you need some help outside the ring as well. And I think the public relations effort for Mike Tyson has been the best of any boxer, perhaps any athlete in the last 15 years. Think of the fact that he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated before he had ever fought a top 10 opponent. Not just the cover of a boxing magazine, but the cover of Sports Illustrated. And so a well-conceived plan inside the ring for Mike Tyson, but perhaps the plan outside was even better.
Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton surely should take a lot of credit. I mean, the marketing of Mike Tyson was genius.
We did something which had never been done before, simply because the means were never available to a manager before, and that is the use of video cassettes of Mike's knockouts. All of his fights had ended in 1 or 2 round knockouts. which we reproduced on half-inch VHS cassettes that we sent to all of the top boxing writers across the country, and 3/4-inch cassettes that we sent to all of the top TV sports personalities and boxing personalities on television.
I remember getting a tape back early when Jim and Bill had 8 fights or so under their belts with Mike Tyson, and they had accumulated a tape, and I kid Jim because I said he sent me a tape that was 3 minutes long with 14 Mike Tyson fights on it, because each one was about 20 seconds in length. But that was sent around the country, and they wanted people to know who Mike Tyson was. And if any executive in any building, advertising, television, anywhere, sat down and watched this tape, they could be nothing but impressed.
As a result, Mike became well known to these most influential writers and television personalities very early in his career. And of course, as a result, generated far more press and far more coverage on television than any fighter in boxing history.
He reaped the rewards of this attention, and he became one of the few boxing champions who transcended the sport. He was a national figure, with friends big and small in high places. But it is ground that has been plowed before by a few boxers, although they did it a little differently than Mike. Muhammad Ali brought his own brand of showmanship and bravado to boxing. And Sugar Ray Leonard was just as bold as Ali, but with the boxing skills were elements of showbiz. Mike Tyson has done it in a more Spartan approach.
The entire walk to the ring without robe, the no socks, the snarls in the ring, all of those things add to the image of Mike Tyson on the night of the fight, and that's what makes the crowd electric. And that's why, you know, he does have the charisma in a different mode. I mean, he's not Ali and Leonard. He doesn't play directly to the crowd, but yet he is playing to the crowd, and he knows it.
Mike Tyson entertains the public. When he enters the arena, it's the same feeling people get if they're going to watch a picture like Jaws. They know they're going to be shocked, entertained, amazed, but affected emotionally. As soon as he enters the arena, they get turned on. Their adrenaline starts pumping. They don't know why, but they know something shocking is going to happen. He walks down the aisle, and people get up on their chairs. Their blood rushes. He steps in the ring, and the crowd goes berserk. Now, nothing has happened yet, but the same way you sit down at a motion picture that's going to be chilling and spine-tingling and shocking, you're hanging on because you know something's going to happen. And very soon, right after the introductions, something bad always happens, and they're delighted. Whether it takes 10 seconds or 4 minutes, they're entertained.
He has this image that's been built up as the young warrior, and I think that image is what really has made him the monster of the media.
Those guys like Ray, Leonard, and Muhammad Ali, what can I say? They're great fighters, but they're also theatrical. You know what I mean? And that's great when people look at fighters who have the reputation of being like, their stereotype as being just straight ahead, you know, just fighting and that's all. And these guys, you see guys like this, flamboyant and everything, and it catches your fancy, you know what I mean? But with me, it's not my nature to be a friendly guy when I'm taking care of business.
For the North American welterweight crown, defending champ Luis Santana takes on promising Tommy Ayers, who hopes to take a shot at the world title soon. Top Rank Boxing, live Thursday night on ESPN.
Tyson not only has the right stuff, he has the right mind. I think he's going to be there a long time. I can't foresee anyone beating Mike Tyson, not now.
Well, next up, Mike Tyson looks for another third of the heavyweight title, and he faces WBA champ James Bonecrusher Smith. What about this Bonecrusher Smith, the man who's challenging Mike Tyson on March 7th? Bonecrusher comes into this with one version of the heavyweight title. He won the WBA crown from Tim Witherspoon, and he has his own story to tell. This 29-year-old became the first college graduate ever to win the heavyweight title. His fight against Witherspoon was a strange odyssey. He came in only a few days before the fight when Tony Tubbs, the challenger, had dropped out, and Bonecrusher more than filled the breach. For the champion Witherspoon, it had been a turmoil-filled week in which he had fought with his manager, Carl King, the promoter, Don King, and the New York State Commission. It all took its toll in the ring. That and the power of Smith proved too much for Tim Witherspoon. Bonecrusher took him apart in round 1. Tim simply wilted under Smith's attack, and the last-minute replacement became the new world champion.
I believe I am that most devastating puncher in the world today. I've faced guys that could knock you out with one punch. And Frank Bruno, Mike Weaver, Tim Witherspoon. Mike Tyson has never faced a guy, an opponent, that can take him out with one punch.
Right.
If I hit Mike Tyson with my best punch, he will go out. There's no doubt about it.
Every man's a problem. You know, every man, no one should be taken lightly. But this is a fight where, as you know, I'm in great shape and I'm ready to fight. And I plan to do my best and I plan a successful outcome.
Smith will have a big height advantage, and fighters like James Broad and Jesse Ferguson were brought in to spar.
Bonecrusher's tall. He's a lot taller than me. So therefore, Mike's going to have to reach up at him. And that makes it, you know, it takes kind of a little bit of power off your punch when you punch up than it is when you're punching down. Bonecrusher, he'll be punching down mostly. And that'll be to his advantage.
Well, if that's an advantage for Bonecrusher Smith, and it may be, it's one of the few that boxing people see when he steps into the ring with Tyson. Still, he is one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division, and that could trouble Tyson. Probably Smith is the biggest puncher that Mike will have faced. But it's hard for me to see Bonecrusher standing at the end of this. I think, like most boxing people, I expect to see 2 or 3 rounds of really exciting action and eventually a Tyson win. And as we close out this look at Mike Tyson, I guess it's appropriate to look to his future. If there is a win against Bonecrusher Smith, what does the future have in store for this young champion? The people that make motion pictures every year have a phrase that's called blue skies. They say we look at the blue skies of our industry. Well, what do the skies have in store for Mike Tyson? I guess he's the only one that can really answer that.
I can't tell you what I'm going to do in my life, you know. It might come to time. I might, you know, right now, you know, I might fall in love with something and get soft and don't want to fight anymore. But, you know, I can't say that now because now, you know, I have nothing on my mind but fighting. I have nothing else to look forward to but fighting. I don't want to be an actor. You know, I just, basically, I like to fight. I don't want to do anything else, but I like to fight.
I'm a fighter.